Hello, everybody. My name is Adi. Joining me today from Bank Hapoalim are Dani, Sela, and Yaniv, Yair to talk about how they cut costs and improved user experience with Redis Enterprise in Bank Hapoalim. So in this session, we will discuss how the bank was able to cope with the growing demand while being dependent on legacy platforms, and what was the role of Redis Enterprise in this process. We will describe the solution, present the results, and talk a little bit about how Redis Enterprise integrates with the bank's future plans and strategy. Let's start by meeting the speakers. So my name is Shtatfeld. I'm a senior product manager at Redis Labs. Prior to my current position, I was VP products of an innovative data startup. And before that, I worked on the customer side before I became a vendor as a hands-on team leader of infrastructure and development teams in financial institutes. Dani.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us here. I'm Dani from Poalim, Israel, head of technology transformation, which is a big title for a group that is trying to take our IT and trying to convert it into a mean, lean IT division. And we're doing so by taking the organization into microservice architectures and API, which we are going to discuss later on.
Thank you, and Yaniv.
Hi everyone, hi Adi. My name is Yaniv Yair. I'm the head of REST and API discipline at Bank Hapoalim. I manage and technology lead the discipline development activities among several sites in Israel. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you, Dani and Yaniv. I think that the first thing that everybody wants to know is who is Bank Hapoalim?
Well, Bank Hapoalim is probably the biggest bank in Israel. We've been here for like a century, and we have more than 2 million customers. In Israel terms, it's a big bank.
Let's talk a little bit about the challenge that you're facing in the bank. As we all know, the digital growth and demand has been part of our lives ever since the mobile became an obsession. So how do you experience this growth at the bank? And when was the point that you felt that the current configuration just can't cut it anymore?
Well, I think you're correct. Every institute is facing the fact that digital is here to stay, and it's increasing in size and volume from year to year. But I don't think anyone anticipated the pandemic. And what we saw in the last year was a tremendous increase in the volumes and the use of digital, which led us to a very difficult situation in terms of our infrastructures and our ability to cope with such an increase.
I think that the pandemic brought customers that weren't used to or didn't plan on consuming digital services. Now they had to, because the branches were closed, and this was the situation in Israel as well as in other parts of the world. So that's a problem that everybody was facing. So we have a slide of the architecture. Yaniv, can you tell us a little bit about that? Walk us through the architecture.
With pleasure. Well, basically the bank's architecture lays on 3 major layers. One is the client layer, the REST layer, which I can manage, and the legacy systems. Well, the client layer basically implemented by Angular for desktop and Java and Kotlin for iOS and Android app is implemented by Java Spring Boot 3.39 running on VMs. And the legacy system majorly implemented in COBOL and other scripting languages. As we can see at the diagram, all user actions start at the client side, which can be a private or business side, and many of them using the various mobile apps. All requests are getting a path to the API gateway, which does the authorization and authentication of the customer and the request which the customer would like to execute. The REST layer wraps the request and executes the related transactions reset in the legacy systems.
Actually, the bank implemented prior to Redis a configuration which enabled you to provide digital services while still working with the legacy platforms and retrieve the information that you needed, right? If I understand correctly. So,
yeah. Correct.
So what were the problems you've encountered when using this architecture?
The needs, the pace didn't meet the infrastructure requirements. All requests are passed to the REST layer, and up until using Redis, we actually used the VM's internal cache. So if one server is down, so its internal cache. So consequent, in each and every customer request, instead of using the VM's cache, all requests are going to the legacy systems, consequent in overloading on the legacy systems.
And what does it mean for the user? What was the user experience?
Well, in such cases, the user will experience latency, response time increasing, resulting in transaction timeout. The customer will have to start the action again. Now, if we are talking about long actions, such the user required to log in and to fill in some details in order to get a significant report, so it will consequent on a failure.
The platforms, the mobile platform and the website offered so many possibilities that, but sometimes, it also caused problems, because sometimes when you design a new digital service, you're not always aware of what's happening under the hood. Even something very simple like showing, displaying customer statistics when they log in. This thing can cause an enormous effect on the backbone by executing transactions much more frequently than before. And I understand that you felt the pain very heavily.
The increase of using the digital basically cost us dearly, since every transaction finds itself to the mainframe with no cache in the middle. It means that the only way to solve this problem is to buy more CPU power. And of course, CPU power in the mainframe is very expensive. We also suffered from the loss of high availability. Hence, we had so many hits per second, and transactions were just waiting in line to get answered. So this resulted in server failure and bad performance eventually for the remaining customers. So combining them all, we actually gave poor service to our customer.
Well, I just want to make some kind of a small addition to what Dani has stated, where the impact was latency and response timeout increases, resulting in transaction timeout in the customer side. So the customer has to start over the action again. Now, if we're talking about transactions which are related to the stock market, so time matters in these kind of actions, and we couldn't actually afford the customer to start over these actions again. Up until we actually involved Redis in our solution, each and every server cache, we have to rely on the server internal cache and to maintain a sticky mode. It means that each and every customer's calls are getting to the same server each and every time this customer requests something from the legacy system. So when one server is down, it means this customer cannot actually execute his actions in our systems because the internal cache is down as well, and all the requests are going right to the legacy system, which causes an overloading, as we just stated before. So Redis Enterprise was implemented in a cluster serving multiple channels, and we have actually defined a multi-tenant cluster in order to support these channels simultaneously with no connection between one channel to another. As for the beginning, we put one cluster, and then in order to avoid a single point of failure, we have divided our cluster into several servers in an active configuration in order to support the scale and the number of requests we actually had growth during the last 2 years, especially in the pandemic time.
Can you tell us a little bit about the transactions and where did you see the improvement?
Oh yeah, we can see two major transactions that actually are used very, very often. One, display transactions in the account, and another one, the client status in the account management. During the past year, we have experienced like between 500 to 700 hits per day, which were actually failed because of the overloading of the legacy systems. And it sounds like a magic, but it drops down to 0 failures a day. So we can see that the solution was awesome.
Thank you. That's always nice to hear. Dani, perhaps you can summarize it for us.
I think the slide speaks for itself, but beside of saving lots of money and manually restarting the servers, which we used to have in the past, I think the most beneficial effect for us was the high availability that we gained again, and the fact that we have customer satisfaction from our digital. This is the most important.
Okay, thank you. And I think that our viewers would like to hear a little bit about how Redis was implemented and what was the journey that you took with Redis. I know that it's hard to adopt new technologies in any organization, especially in a financial institute.
We first started by using the open source Redis as part of developers initiative. Me myself, I've started using Redis back in 2010 in the previous company that I worked for, and it seems like actually the best solution, especially for those who are looking for an in-cache or a memory cache in order to boost the performance of the call when you have so many hits per sec. So after we saw actually that it solves major problems we have, so then, and we would like to go with this solution on to production. So we contacted Redis Labs because we need clustering capabilities with active servers and the performance and high availability. So we actually contacted one of the service of agents, and from there, all is history. We've been through some regulation in order to actually make it okay with the bank security regulations. I think in order to do that, Redis Labs support and customer access helped us to implement changes that were needed to meet the cyber security requirement, etc. The data can be encrypted on the way in and on the way out. So it was quite straightforward. Another thing is that using Redis was quite elastic and dynamic. We actually could configure each and every transaction, whether we would like to go on with Redis or just lay on the internal cache.
The advantages is being able to dynamically change and implement Redis Enterprise for some of the transactions and some are not. This is very important when you want to release something gradually into production and you want to mitigate the risk. What are your plans for the future?
The bank next step is to go on a cloud solution in order to gain a high availability and high scalability for our customers. We've decided to lift and shift the current API layer, the current REST layer, into the cloud solution and gradually reduce the number of CPU and servers and replace them by pod. During the past year, we've been dealing with our monoliths in order to break them down into microservices. We've decided to use OpenShift and, of course, to implement Redis as our cache system within the cloud.
Actually, these are the directions that many of our customers go to and how they plan to expand the usage of Redis Enterprise.
And of course, the Redis would be a core solution for this process in order to obtain data statistics on the traffic and content consumed by the customers. So we would like to still using these cache systems in our systems in the bank.
I think, Adi, that many institutes find themselves in a similar situation that we have faced. A major increase in the use of digital and transaction, and once living side by side with the legacy systems, it means that you need to figure out some kind of solution, and cache is definitely a solution that works in such a situation. Redis was a good solution for us, and I think it's going to be a good solution for others to use. I can also mention the support of the people from Redis that took us all the way to the solution that we have today. And I invite you to join and try.
Thank you. I hope that all of our viewers will hear you, and we, of course, in Redis Labs will be happy to assist. I'd like to finish with a quote from Ronen Yochpaz, the VP of IT of Bank Hapoalim. Ronen said that using Redis Enterprise enabled us to meet the bank's customers' increasing demand with excellent performance and 24/7 service availability through a period of unprecedented digital growth. I want to thank you, Yaniv and Dani, for your participation and your willing to share your story. And I hope to see you again. So bye for now.
Thank you very much, Adi. Keep
Thank
safe.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.